Hi, Deepa Rani Shekhar from Transform Life Programs. Love and Light. Well, let me start with a story. Before that, I have a request. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel for updates whenever there is a video put up. I always start my videos with a story. Today is no different. So, what is the story today? There was this compartment in train. There was a father and two little children who were running around all the places. And people thought, what kind of a father is he? How can he be so careless? And they started judging the father. Every time the children ran around him and looked at him, the father just smiled at them. And everybody thought what kind of a father he is, and they felt he's careless, he's irresponsible, the children are extremely mischievous, indisciplined, and whatnot. And it was time to sleep. People wanted to go to sleep, but the children were still running around. And children are immense powerhouses of energy. And the father still wouldn't say a word to them. Then one of the passengers, the co-passengers, asked the father, what kind of a father are you? Your children are so reckless, so badly behaved, so ill-mannered, and you're not saying a word to control them, contain their mischief. Instead, you're smiling at them. The father said, brother, I'm confused. And everybody had a hearty laugh at the cost of the father. Oh, you're confused. You have children but confused on how to discipline them. The father said, not about that. They are disciplined children, but today is different. If I give them one look, if I tell them one word, they would quiet down. Then why aren't you saying anything to them? The father said, I'm confused because my wife had gone to her maternal home. There she slipped and fell. It was a freak accident, but she died. I am taking my children to the final rites. I really don't know how to tell them that they will never see their mother again except for one last time where they are going to confine her remains to the flames. So I really don't know. Immediately, there was absolute silence in the compartment. Everybody felt ashamed of themselves for judging the father. And the father moved on to say that I really don't know how to tell them. And the atmosphere was the same, the situation was the same, but the perception of people changed. They no longer felt annoyed at the kids. They no longer felt the father was irresponsible. They felt he was a grieving father who was compelled to contain himself. He had to contain his grief without showing it to his children. And the children were looked as little flowers who were about to bloom, but the mother's death is going to impact their blossoming. And there was an immediate change in perception. So I would like to tell you, there are three things we need to visit if we need to know the value of what we have. What we have but we don't cherish and value. The three places are a hospital, a prison, and a graveyard. What's so special about that, you might ask? When you go to a hospital, you realize there's no greater wealth than health. There are people who are struggling to breathe and their relatives are counting hours. People are counting minutes to hold on to breath. That is where you realize the value of health. And prison. When you go to a prison, visit a prison, I'm not saying be an inmate, definitely not. As an evangelist, as someone who does some service there, whatever, when you visit a prison, you will realize the value of freedom which we don't cherish at all. And when we visit a graveyard or a crematorium, then we realize we are very, very lucky to still be walking while we are not carried by someone else. And we do not know when we will be pushed into the incinerator, when we will be buried. We do not know. So please value what you have. Let's value all that is there. Otherwise, we are not going to be a healthy lot. So let me also tell you about um, the leaking bucket. What is the leaking bucket? Any guesses? What is a leaking bucket? Leaking bucket is everywhere you do something but you don't mean it. You don't do it from your heart. So what is a leaking bucket? How many of us wake up early morning every day to say our prayers, to do our jap, the chant, to tell our beads, to offer flowers to God, to visit a temple, to clean the deities and whatever? If you're doing it with the whole heart, without your mind wandering, if you're doing it mindfully, fantastic. If your thoughts are on the bus you might have missed, or the toast which might have got burnt, or the kid who has still not woken up, then it's a leaking bucket. There's no point in filling water or anything in a leaking bucket. If you're very kind to outsiders, speak very gently to them, fantastic. But if you're rude and harsh to your own family members, that's a leaking bucket. There's no point in filling a leaking bucket. If you honor and treat your guests very well, very caringly, but gossip about them the minute they leave and talk about their flaws, then that's a leaking bucket. You read a lot. It could be about religion, it could be about philosophy. You do a lot of bhajan, satsang, you do a lot of prayer, you do a lot of mass, everything. But if you swear, if you curse, that's a leaking bucket. You help others and you do it without any expectation. That's fantastic. If you're expecting something out of it, maybe publicity or maybe something materialistic in return, that's a leaking bucket. If you're always preaching and advising others, but when you don't practice or when you have double standards, that's a leaking bucket. If you have fixed points of view and don't change but expect others to change, that's a leaking bucket. If you look down upon others and feel superior to them, whatever else you do, that's a leaking bucket. So we struggle to fill our lives with moments, with values, with whatnot, with knowledge, with philosophy, with wisdom, everything. But if the bucket is a leaking bucket, that's absolutely a waste of filling the bucket. So please do not become a leaking bucket. Plug all the holes, fill whatever little bit you can, and experience joy throughout. Deepa Rani Shekhar from Transform Life Programs. Love and light. Once again reminding you to click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel if you have not yet done so.